This is Rugby Roundup. Coming up, Brian Dick speaks to Worcester's Richard Hill ahead of their semi-final clash with Bedford Blues. Hello and welcome to Rugby Roundup. I'm Paul Bradley. Well, our attention now turns to Worcester Warriors after Birmingham and Solihull Bees were relegated. Worcester are playing Bedford Blues in the semi-final of the Championship. Brian Dick was at Six Ways and spoke to Richard Hill, but first of all, here are his thoughts on that game.
Yeah, well, they're down now to a one-leg semi-final, which basically means, despite the fact they've won the league by 19 points, they only lost one league game all season, and they won all 6 of their playoff games. Despite that fact, they are just 80 minutes. Everything's riding on these next 80 minutes now. It's a bit of a nonsensical situation. It's a legacy of the reorganisation of this division that was made a couple of years ago. The fact that the division was reduced meant they had to look around and try and manufacture a situation that would give them more home games. Now, they've done that. There are more home games, but as I said, it's just a nonsense to me, and I think to most right-minded people in the sport that such a dominant side can just be 80 minutes from it all falling down, and there really is a lot riding on this, because they won't have the parachute pay as big a parachute payment next year. You know, that will have an impact on business. It'll have an impact on the staffing levels here. It'll have an impact on the playing squad, unless they either win, or if they don't win, their benefactor Cecil Duckworth finds it in his heart, as he probably would, to maintain a good level of consistency here. But it's imperative they go back up for the health of the business. Bedford they're a tricky side. Richard Hill told us earlier that that Bedford showed some forward power last time that they hadn't seen in the previous 2 league matches with them. This will be a very, very different Worcester team, both in terms of levels of motivation and in terms of the people on the pitch. There'll be a lot of changes. This will be Worcester's first string. The last time this team played together, they put 80 points on Bristol. So we're not comparing oranges with apples here. It really is a very different prospect. Worcester will have to play sensible cup rugby. They'll have to kick the corners. They'll have to take the penalties when they come. They might have to go up in increments of 3 points for the first half, for the first hour, and then they will hope to be able to have exerted enough pressure for the gaps to have appeared out wide. Really, I expect them to win. I think everyone expects them to win. They certainly expect themselves to win. They've left no stone unturned in working out how they're going to do it. It's just a question of it is only 80 minutes, and anything can happen on any given day.
Well, we decided to keep a group back here nice and fresh, and we trained Saturday morning with a different group, and we sent another group of players down last weekend, so it won't be it's the same squad this weekend. Won't be the team that we put down last weekend. We had a great start. The perfect start. After 5 minutes we'd scored 2 converted tries and were 14-0 up, so that was a really, really good start, because what we wanted to do was to send a team down to Bedford that would make them produce their best rugby. They'd have to go into top gear, if you like. We didn't want them to, a week before the big championship game this weekend, we didn't want Bedford to be able to coast through a game against the Warriors without having to reach very top gear. So fortunately, with 2 scintillating tries to go 14-0 up, it made Bedford, they had to produce their best game to claw back that deficit. So we could see Bedford as they really are. So they couldn't afford to hold any strategies back, if you like. The idea was to try and tease 1 or 2 strategies out of Bedford to see maybe things that they've been working on, and in my view, they really had to pull out all the stops. So from that point of view, it was a good analysis. We saw, what did we learn from that? We actually saw a different type of Bedford from what we've seen before. That was important. Before, they were just very reliant on a superb set of 3 quarters that just attacked from anywhere. But we saw a different side of Bedford. We saw a forward driving game. And particularly a stark reminder to our forward pack this weekend is the fact they scored 2 driving line-outs, and they pushed a 5-metre scrum of ours over our own line. So those really were very stark reminders that Bedford have actually become a more all-rounded team, not just reliant on a good set of 3 quarters, but actually got a really good forward game as well. So we learnt quite a lot from last weekend.
Any concern in your mind that it was a a mental edge for their system over your system, and they maybe cracked a few of your codes and maybe worked out how to play against you as well?
It's interesting. After the game, I stood outside the dressing room just to gauge the reaction of the Bedford players as they came off, and I didn't see a great deal of whooping and hollering and unbounded joy the fact they got through to a final. I think I just, in the back of my mind, was perhaps looked at them and their reaction was more of, well, we've won that, fine, but we're going to have to face a completely different 15 perhaps next weekend. So I think Bedford were quite sensible in that respect. They knew that they hadn't played against a full Warriors team, and they perhaps knew that there was a bigger game to come the week after. We just have to hope that our strategies work. As I say, by keeping 15 fresh players back, the theory being that Bedford played in the hottest day of the year last weekend. They were tested quite well by Warriors another 15, if you like, and pushed hard right to the limit. And we just have to hope that our strategy of keeping our players nice and fresh and fit will pay dividends on Sunday.